I only ordered for family. My mother-in-law smiled when my aunt asked why I got no steak or dessert. Am I family or not? I asked my husband. Don't do this. Not here, he muttered, still chewing. But the table fell silent when I said what no one expected. My name is Hannah, and I've been married to Ryan for 7 years. We met through a mutual friend during a Saturday book club. At the time, I was already working full-time in the accounting office at a local supermarket chain. Ryan was still in graduate school for public administration. He used to look at me with a quiet sort of admiration and say things like, "You're incredible. Working full-time while I'm just writing policy memos makes me feel lazy." I smiled. Then I thought it meant something. When he got a job as a budget analyst at the city clerk's office, we moved into a modest rental just outside the city. That's when I first met his parents, Vivian and Tom. She wore Chanel perfume in judgment, like a crown. He shook my hand like he expected change in return. His sister Lindsay, 2 years older than Ryan, had never worked a day in her life, and she was proud of that. Vivian's first words to me after a long silent scan were, "Oh, I thought you'd be taller." Tom followed up with, "So, Hannah, you didn't go to college." The word "didn't" was soaked in pity. I didn't flinch. I had bills at 18 and made my choices. Choices I never regretted until they made me feel like I was constantly justifying my existence. For a while, Ryan stood up for me. He would say, "She works harder than anyone I know, and my parents can be a little much, but don't take it personally." I didn't at first. I smiled politely when Vivian brought overpriced pastries just for Ryan. I didn't comment when she turned her nose up at the store brand coffee I served. But over time, the snubs multiplied. The compliments stopped and Ryan's defenses faded. She doesn't even manage investments. I overheard Tom whisper once after flipping through my pay-up that Vivian had somehow gotten her hands on. "I don't know how you manage," Lindsay would say with faux sympathy. I could never do all that grunt work. Sometimes I'd find Vivian snooping through my drawers under the excuse of looking for a napkin. Once she pulled out my bank ledger and shook her head. So little savings and no portfolio. Then to Ryan, "You should have married someone with at least a financial plan." Still, I tried. Every holiday, every birthday, every uncomfortable dinner, I showed up. I cooked, cleaned, smiled, poured drinks. One Christmas, I got a regifted candle while everyone else got tailored gifts with cards. No one noticed, not even Ryan. By our 6th year, I began to see my marriage for what it had become. I was the hired help with a marriage license. Still, I held on. We didn't have children, but we had history. I thought maybe, just maybe, with time, we'd find our way back to how things were. That foolish hope kept me walking into their home with my head up, even as my heart sank. Last summer, they planned a trip to a lakeside cabin. Vivian told me to pack. "Family getaway," she said. I drove with Ryan to his parents' place, only for them to leave without me while I was in the restroom. Just gone, Ryan later told me. Mom said it should be just family. He said it like it was a fact, not an insult. "But I'm your wife." "Yeah," he said, "but you're not blood." The words cut deeper than he knew. Or maybe he did know and didn't care. Now came the annual family lunch in August, with all the extended relatives flying in. That year, by some miracle, my store gave the entire team 3 days off in the name of wellness reform. I should have gone to the beach. Instead, I was drafted into service. Vivian called me the night before. "You'll help with prep. Guests expect a certain standard." Standard meant I was up at 6:00 a.m. Chopping, dusting, vacuuming, wiping fingerprints off wine glasses. While Ryan and his parents sipped espresso on the patio, I ironed linen napkins. Lindsay waltzed in at noon and said, "Don't forget the vegan option for Aunt Caroline." Then she disappeared. By lunch, I was wiped. My arms ached. My back throbbed. I hadn't even had coffee. Guests arrived warm and loud. I forced a smile, ushered them to their seats, topped off drinks, reheated sauces. Ryan didn't help. When I asked him quietly to carry out the roast, he muttered, "You're doing fine." It wasn't until everyone was seated and food was being passed that I finally allowed myself to sit down. That's when Vivian stood. "I have a surprise," she said with a saccharine smile, "just for family." She disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a tray. On it, 7 perfect fillet minions cooked rare and glistening. She handed them one by one to Tom, Lindsay, Ryan, and 3 other relatives. And for dessert, she held up a glossy white box, imported French tarts, just for the family, of course. Everyone oohed and clapped except me. There was no 7th plate, no dessert for me, just my half-eaten roast chicken from the first round. Silence stretched like a blade. Aunt Sharon, seated to my left, finally asked, "Vivian, didn't you make one for Hannah?" Vivian glanced at me like I was gum stuck under her heel. "I only ordered for family," she said lightly. "Of course." My ears rang. My chest burned. I turned to Ryan. He didn't look up. He cut into his steak. Aunt Sharon shifted in her chair. Ryan? I spoke before he could. Tell me, Ryan, am I family or not? Ryan still didn't look up. He chewed slowly, deliberately, as if my question had been rhetorical, as if I hadn't just cracked the silence open like a dropped glass. Aunt Sharon's brow furrowed. Ryan, your wife just asked you something. Finally, he set his fork down, more annoyed than startled. Don't do this, Hannah. Not here. Not in front of everyone. Oh, I think this is exactly the place, I said. My voice was calm, but my hands were trembling under the table. Vivian gave a sharp little laugh. Honestly, this is so beneath you, Hannah, making a scene over food. Food? I repeated. No, this isn't about steak or desserts. It's about how I've been treated for 7 years. Like a tenant in your son's life, like the outsider you all never wanted, Tom scoffed. No one ever said you weren't welcome. No, I said. You just said I wasn't educated. Not polished, not family material. You said it with every side eye, every backhanded compliment. Every time you went through my private things looking for reasons to belittle me. Lindsay snorted. You're being dramatic. I turned to her. You've never worked a day in your life. I've carried this marriage financially for nearly a year, while your brother lies about going to work every morning, so I think I've earned the right to be dramatic. Ryan's head snapped up. Hannah, shut up. Or what? I asked. You'll lose your precious image. Hate to break it to you, but everyone's about to find out you haven't had a job since last fall. Now all eyes were on him. Vivian blinked. What is she talking about? Ryan stammered, but no words came. I leaned forward. He was fired from the city clerk's office after a massive error in the tax forms. They sent hundreds of residents incorrect invoices, some underbilled by thousands. Ryan was in charge of final reviews. He didn't tell you because, well, you were too busy judging my coffee. That's not true, Ryan said quickly, but even he looked unconvinced. I didn't stop. Since then, I've paid every bill, every grocery run. I've covered rent, utilities, car maintenance, while he played job hunt on his laptop and secretly applied for jobs he was underqualified for. A heavy silence spread like oil across the table. Aunt Sharon looked down at her plate, then at Ryan. Is this true? Ryan stood abruptly. This is insane. You're trying to humiliate me. No, Ryan, I said. You did that to yourself when you sat there and let your mother deny me a plate like I'm the help. Vivian slammed her glass down. You don't talk to my son like that. And you don't talk to me like I'm disposable. I reached into my bag and pulled out a thin manila folder. It made a soft thwack when I placed it in front of Ryan. What's this? He asked. Draft separation papers, I said. I already spoke with an attorney. I'm not waiting for your permission. The room froze again. Even Lindsay stopped mid-bite. You're overreacting, Tom finally said. Am I? I turned to him. You think I didn't notice the way you'd sigh whenever I walked into a room? The way you'd glance at my hands like you were checking for dirt. Lindsay jumped in, her voice sharp. You're just mad because you'll never fit in with us. You never had class, Hannah. I smiled just slightly. And yet, I'm the only one here who knows how to pay a mortgage. Vivian shot up from her chair. You think this makes you superior? You're a cashier's clerk. Accounting officer. I corrected her. At a chain that just promoted me to regional finance coordinator, and unlike your son, I actually read documents before I signed them. Ryan pushed the folder back toward me. You're not doing this. Oh, I am. His voice cracked. You're really going to throw away our marriage because of one lunch? No, I said quietly. I'm walking away because I've been treated like a stranger in my own life. Because you let them grind me down until I forgot I had options. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Maybe he didn't. Maybe I hadn't let him. I turned to Aunt Sharon. I'm sorry you had to witness this. She placed her napkin down gently. Don't apologize, dear. You've shown more grace than most would in your position. Then she looked at Vivian. And you? You should be ashamed. You humiliated your daughter-in-law in front of your entire family. She's not my daughter-in-law anymore, Vivian spat. I nodded. And you'll never have the chance again. Ryan's voice dropped to a whisper. You really mean it? You're leaving me? I didn't answer. I just stood, walked to the kitchen, grabbed my purse from the hook by the door, and came back to.